everybody. Welcome to Sunday Morning Summary with Scott. We started a new theme this week called Evidence for Faith. And in that, we talked briefly about what is apologetics. It's not apologizing for the faith more than it is about giving an answer for why we believe what we believe. Believe it or not, whether you go to public school or you're getting ready to go to college, you're going to be confronted with opportunities where people are going to ask you what you believe and why you believe that. And it's important for me as a youth pastor that you understand your faith and are confident enough in your faith that you can give a reasonable answer. So some of the things that we discussed was why consider evidence for the faith? I think, first of all, it's helpful for you, period, to know what you believe. And the thing is that I've always encouraged in this youth group is that Christianity can take your questions. So as you become more critical thinkers, especially as you go through your high school years and college years, you're going to have questions about the faith, and that's okay. I want you to have questions, but I don't want those questions to push you away. I want those questions to cause you to search a little bit more and find some answers to the questions that are bothering you or nagging at you and figure it out. So apologetics is giving evidence for the faith. And I want to read this. 1 Peter 3:15 says, "But in your hearts regard Christ the Lord as holy, ready at any time to give a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you." So this is presupposing the fact that Paul's writing to Peter, or I think Peter's writing it. And he's saying, I want you to understand your faith well enough that people are going to ask you, why are you this way? Why do you seem to have joy? Why do you seem to, feel secure in who you are? And a large part of that may be due to your faith and why you believe what you believe. So all Christians are called to be ready with an answer for why we believe. So it's really important for me that you understand the faith well enough to pursue the answers to your questions, but also know how to help other people that have questions. So why is apologetics important? It's important because we should be able to provide intelligent answers for the questions we're asked. I never want any student from my youth group to be ignorant of the faith to the point where somebody asks you, well, why do you believe that? And you're like, oh, I don't know. Because my parents brought me up Methodist, or my parents brought me up as a Christian. I want you to have a deeper understanding of the faith and feel secure about what you know and how you know, and be able to reasonably explain that to somebody that may have a question about what you believe. And then also with evidence and faith, I want you to understand God doesn't use faith to create evidence. He uses evidence to create faith. So as we understand the evidence that there is about Jesus and other things that affirm the faith, whether it's through science or archaeology or whatever, that gives us more reason to have a strong faith, to see that it's a reasonable faith. It's not an unreasonable faith. It's not a faith that we're just wishing for this to be true, but that there's evidence. There's good, solid evidence for us to have faith in Jesus. And then also, faith is not believing against the evidence or believing without evidence. Faith is trusting in God in light of what we have reason to believe is true. So there's a lot of great evidence out there, and that's what we're going to wrestle with over the next several weeks, is how can we understand our faith, reasonably understand our faith, so that we feel firm in our faith and we can explain that to other people. So, and then also I want you to understand something here, that a study of apologetics ought to lead us to humility, not to arrogance. Sometimes, it's interesting when you're dealing with people that first get to college and they get a taste of knowledge. Sometimes, and you're going to see this happen when you go to college, sometimes some people get a little arrogant because now they know something. But if you're truly seeking knowledge, the more that you seek, the more you realize you're just scratching the surface, and that ought to bring humility. So I can't tell you every single thing about the Bible because that would take a lifetime, and a couple lifetimes probably. So no matter what we're doing, we're learning the core truths of our faith but yet we're still scratching the surface because all knowledge is God's knowledge, and that's a vast amount of knowledge. And there's only so much we can tap into as finite human beings. So as we gain knowledge about our faith, that ought to help produce humility. So with that in mind, I want you guys to look forward to this series as we talk about apologetics and truth and what is that and what does that look like and how do we wrestle with some of the deep questions of our faith and how do we give answers to that. And not just pat answers, but complex answers that hopefully will satisfy people's curiosity and questions, and that there's nothing to be afraid of. I don't ever want you to hide behind, well, my faith should be private. I don't think people's faith are a private matter. I think they affect all areas of our life. And people will notice that there's something different about you because of your faith. And for us to be able to give a reasonable answer for why we believe what we believe is a fair game, especially as you get ready to go into high school or as you get ready to go into college. People are going to ask. And I want you guys to be able to give a reasonable answer. So that's what we started with this past week. And I also want you to understand, you'll get in conversations with other Christians and have different views about the Bible too. But there are certain core truths that all Christians across the board, Catholic, Methodist, Presbyterian, Baptist, there are core truths that we all should agree on. But then there's a lot of different things that we have differences of opinions on. So that's true too. So with that, keep that in mind. Be humble and understand that we're tapping into the knowledge of our faith, but we want to do it with humility and compassion so that we understand our faith better for ourselves and we can explain it to others in a kind and compassionate and loving way. Because it's God's kindness that leads people to repentance. Not arrogance, not hostility, not arguments, but God's kindness that leads people to humility. So we always want to have a kind approach with not only ourselves, but with other people too. So that's what we studied this past Sunday, October 11th, 2020. And it's the beginning of a new series, understanding our faith or searching the faith, I forget what it's called. I'll show you in the graphic. So take care. I love you guys. I miss you. I can't wait till this pandemic is over and we can all meet together again. Bye.